So it was so funny coming in with the ferry from Kiel this morning, passing on the entrance harbor on the right hand side, Languedoc. Because when I started 505, that was the center of the 505 world. The best sailors, like Christa and Ebbe and Olive, and Kalle, all came from Sweden, and Kalle and Christa from Languedoc, actually. So, and we learned a lot from them, but we're never that close because it was too much distance, and they were in the top 5 and we were far back. And well, over the years, it has changed, and the German fleet was always quite poor in level, big but poor. But then I was grabbing Wolfgang as skipper, and he's been to 3 Olympics in 470, and now won Kieler Woche 24 times, and was 2-time 470 world champion. So he was a different level to everybody else in the 505 class, even than the others international. So I learned a lot, and we worked hard, but we were beating the German fleet always by so far. So in the first year, we sailed 42 races in total, and we won 36. So we nearly won every regatta, winning all races, which was not good, but it got the others away. Okay, we have to work harder, and we wanted others to get better because we need training partners. So we were bringing up the level of the fleet slowly every year, and some years we had 3 or 4 in the world's top 10. The best year was 2012, when we had, including our Danish friends, which were close group and same setup and same boat tuning, we had 6 in top 10. And 2013 we had 1, 2, 3 in Barbados. But then the problem started. 2014 was a home Worlds in Germany, and after a home event, it's normal, it happens everywhere, the regional fleet is falling asleep and does nothing. So be careful after Worlds in Sweden, this will not happening here. Everybody will look at the Worlds then, and then the older ones stop, and the others don't do anything. So in 2014, suddenly activity Germany dead, nothing. And anyway, the problem before was compared to, you have good activity here in Sweden. Young, old, active people, bit average higher age, but some have enough time and money to play with the boat and don't work full time and are very enthusiastic. You all miss, or many of you missed 20 years of dinghy sailing, came back and said, hey, this is much better than gearboat sailing. And unfortunately, in 2013, the other really big problem in Germany started, which is called the Sailing League, the club Kiel Boat League, where the club supply the boats for free, pay all the costs, and all the young sailors suddenly wanted to do club league in J17, just get the boat, use it, and that's it. And nobody wanted to work on the dinghy. So we lost all the youngsters coming in, and we lost some in the top who stopped after the Worlds. So suddenly, the fleet is down to less than half of what it was. And we are struggling to find training partners. And the fleet got smaller and smaller, and now the final result is 505 is out of Kieler Woche. Because we said, okay, we want to race outside, we want a big race course, we want this and that. And they said, no, we want classes which are easy to handle and don't ask questions. Kieler Woche is finished.
But it's
completely pissed off because he wanted to win it 25 times. So the German Euro Cup, the most important regatta, will be Warnemünde, which is good for Denmark, Sweden, Poland, because it's in the middle of the Baltic. Because it's reasonably easy to reach from Sweden and Denmark and from Poland. And they do what we want. So Tim, our sport, Tim Böger, who's looking after events, and he has spoken to them and said, we want a 3-day event, 3 races Saturday, 4 on Sunday, 3 on Monday, 60 to 75 minutes, depends on weather conditions. We want 2 social events, and we want to sail from the old harbor in the middle of town, which was not possible this year because they were breaking down all the old East German sports school shit. So that's all. They've agreed on everything because they're happy to have us. So we get what we want. So maybe I think it's a step forward for the class and not backwards. We get a better deal, and they do what we want, and they listen to us. So we pay entry fee, they do their job, and not like in Kiel. Yeah? That's the problem. For the image of the class, it's not so good. We got thrown out of Kieler Woche, so we have to do clever marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim is organizing and speaking with all the other nations. He just will be off, whoever is in contact with Tim, for the next 4 weeks, because he's doing ARC, so he's sailing from Canaries across the Atlantic with some other 505 friends, with Chris Loons from England, who's Nathan Bachelor, and some other friends. So they've already sailed the boat to Gran Canaria, and they fly there 15th of November, and he's off for 4 weeks. But I think all the events are settled.
Yeah.
I've seen on the emails, it had a little impact on the Swedish calendar, because some of you, of course, want to do the major Central European International Regatta, which now suddenly will be Warnemünde.
Yeah.
And it's really far to go to Cork for the Worlds. I will go because 82, 40 years ago, was my first Worlds ever in Cork. So we will send a truck with several boats to France. They will raise French nationals in Lorient and then get the ferry France-Cork direct.
Yeah.
But that ferry is only once a week. So that is really far. Others are considering just to pack a container and get it to Cork. So we don't know. It's enough time after Warnemünde to move the boats to Cork, because the year after in California is really far away. It's very special. You can't do well at the Worlds in Santa Cruz without local knowledge, because it's very special. I've sailed there 3 times, and it's very special. It will burn a lot of money, so I can only recommend don't do that. Stay at home, more boat work, more training, more European sailing, and prepare for the next year at home. So it's just a question, where will we get the Europeans in 23?
It's in France.
Is that happening?
Yes, it is
West
happening.
Coast?
Yes, West Coast.
Okay.
There is a group working on it.
Yeah.
So we are confident that it will.
Just trust the Frenchies when it's written. Blah, there's a lot of blah blah, and they're not organized.
No, but it seems that there is one person who is in charge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's France West Coast, somewhere between Brittany and La Rochelle, it'll be always good.
Yes, I don't.
Unless they do it in peak time of French holiday, because then it's really full.
Yeah.
But they know that.
Yes, they know that.
So yeah, I was hoping for France, because that can be a nice one.
Yeah.
It's far, but you can add 1 week because it's just nice there.
Yes.
So
The Swedish nationals next year is 8th to 10th of July. So you stop in Warnemünde, then you travel nicely up to Sweden, and you do a 3-day regatta there.
Next year.
Next year.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That'll be attractive for many to combine it with holiday, because those who will not do Worlds
Exactly.
will focus on Warnemünde and Swedish nationals, because Danish nationals is only 10 boats or less, so that's not so important. You will have the biggest fleet. And the Polish nationals, they will Ascom to Trimhelg. That will be first weekend, 3-day event, first weekend of September.
Yeah.
Near Swinemünde, so near the German border, on the very, very northwest part of north of Stettin. Very, very. So that's okay for Germans, not so far, and open water.
Yeah.
So that is some history and looking ahead. So what we have to do this weekend, it'll be a lot of work for 2 days. The problem is, every boat here is a different generation and a different specification. That's the problem in your fleet. If you do speed tuning with some boats, you cannot communicate afterwards and say we have this, because every boat is different. So we start from the very basics and go from boat to boat to boat. And while we do that, I look at the boat and talk to the team and say, this might be a problem, that might be a problem, you have to do this in winter. So I give you a to-do list for every team for this winter. And also show you examples, what works good, what is not good, and. It's too difficult to talk about that in general. We have to do it on every single boat. Otherwise, and that's why it's not possible to explain by email, by pictures, by phone. It does not work. We have to do it on every boat. I know it was quite good help the first attempt last winter when I couldn't come. I said, okay, let's do pictures and get it out. But so many questions came back, so I realized, no, we have to do it on spot, on the boat. Okay, so starting with the very basics, this is the 505, as you see. We have boats, the hull is floating something to hear? We have boats which have different volumes. Some have more volume in the front, some more in the middle, some more in the back. Forget about it. This will get too complicated if we talk about different hull shapes. The maximum difference we have is an old Parker or old Ronda shape with a very, very big volume in the front and a fairly roundish transom. So that's sailing well upwind and light wind. It's very bad for fast downwind sailing. The latest hull shape my boats had until last year was less volume in the front, as small as possible in the middle, wide and flat in the back. That's the other side of the range. The problem is that hull shape is not so good for heavy teams. When I was sailing with Maike, she was 60, I was 92. Super good. We won every event, all events apart from the World Championship in light to medium conditions. Because we needed less volume, because it's simple Archimedisches Prinzip. Weight, water. 100 kilos, 100 liter. Very simple. So a heavy team needs a boat with more boat volume. That's why we decided, okay, we keep the topside and we redesign the hull shape. So the latest boat now, like my boat from this year, has more volume in the front than your boat. It's the same in the middle, and it's even flatter and wider to really, really maximum in the back. So in theory, it's a Ronda in the front, an Obi in the middle, and a water rat in the back. That's the compromise. I wanted to have the boat as small as possible in the middle to have minimum drag, not wide and bulky, minimum drag, because that worked so nice in the light and medium conditions. Like if you remember Warburg Europeans 2015, we were so much faster because we were light.
Yes.
And it was easy. Gate early, go left, out of the current, tech, lay line, bang. So that's the theory.
So we can draw the difference between a light, medium, and a heavy team. Roughly.
Well, the ideal 505 team probably is a 70 kilo skipper and a 95 kilo crew. That's ideal world. In California, maybe it's a 100 kilo crew. And that team is not so bad. Maybe you can gain 5 kilo.
Try.
Whatever. So no, everything works because we have a mix of conditions.
Yeah.
On most teams' level, it's more important. The boat is working. The boat is not breaking. You don't capsize and you sail fast. That's way more important. So I was always, it was not easy with Wolfgang because he's 78, 79 kilo. So I could not be more than 90. Otherwise we get too heavy overall. So we had a problem in Fremantle because I was not heavy enough against the, well, Peter and Luke is a different story. That is perfect. Actually, Luke is a bit too big. So that's why it's called the animal. So, okay. So, don't think about your hull shape. You have what nobody realized it. The back, 1.2 meters. From the transom to the end of centerboard case, we modified. We made it wider in the back to maximum as it could be by Clarkson. So we changed the last 1.5 meters just by filling it up and making it a little bit flatter and wider just to try how does it work if the transom is maximum wide. And it worked nicely because we said, okay, we could see, okay, we do really well downward. And then we decided, okay, let's get a new CNC tool cut for the hull mode. Problem now is I cannot get both. Ovi boats are so busy with 29ers, 49ers and other classes, they cannot build any 505s before April, May next year. So I have two hulls at the moment, one for me for next year and one for Nathan Batchelor who works for Ovi boats. That hull was just in stock because it should have gone to the best Australian team, but there was no way to send it. So I'm rigging these two together and finish them. The next boat is just after May next year, which is really bad, but that's how it is. To together and finish them. The next boat is just after May next year, which is really bad, but that's how it is. So, what we need to check first is the balance on the boat. Where's your mast in relation to hull shape, which you cannot change, and to the centerboard position? Because then, if that is wrong, your boat will sail around in circles. Rudder is fixed anyway, so we can't change that. Well, not true. This spring, Wolfgang said, I have a little bit of feeling on the rudder. A little bit. Can we add? There's two fittings here, so you can move the rudder actually. Can we add one washer, which is 1.2 millimeter, between the top fitting and the transom to bring the rudder more neutral? 1.2 millimeter. On a, how far is it apart? 25 centimeter. That brings it down here forward maybe by 5-6 millimeter, maybe 7. The next day said, this is better. It's just here, but
No, it's not.
yeah, maybe not. But so you can make the rudder more neutral or more angled, whatever. Depends on how you balance it. But that also depends if you sail like this or upright. So let's start with a very basic.
Just a little question on that.
Yeah.
That's more a matter of feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
If you
it's
always
nothing-
sail here like that, don't worry about it. Learn to sail upright first.
Yeah, yeah. But to have a lighter feel or a stronger
Yeah.
feel, it doesn't
Lighter
have
is
a
better. Balance.
yeah. But
So if you go out with a coach,
Yeah.
let the coach do a lot of filming and show you that you never sail like this. You always sail like this.
yeah,
You should aim to sail
flat.
heel windward.
Yeah,
You think, because then it's upright. You never sail heel windward, because naturally a person is worried to fall backwards, because you have no arms there. That's why you sail like this and not like that, because you think it's upright, but it is not. Ideally, when it's gustier in Northern Europe, with clouds, and we sail a lot with gusts. When you sail into gusty conditions, and you want to accelerate in the gust, if you sail heel windward, the boat is accelerating alone without moving the rudder. Because if you sail without rudder and you want to steer it with your body weight,
Yeah.
better way is windward heel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So try to practice that. When you have clouds and the gust is hitting you, don't go high, you want to go low and fast and accelerate. And it's so easy if it's heel windward and not upright, or the worst thing is heel to leeward. So practice sailing into a gust with windward heel and go. If you see skiffs sailing upwind and how upright they sail, and how low the crews are on the wire, they know what they do because they sail 10 times as much as you do.
Yeah.
So practice that.
Trista once told me that if you're in doubt whether you sail flat or not, look over the transom.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a crew, I often look back or have 4 holes,
Yeah.
clinometer. Have this on the bulkhead, you can see. Ideally, somebody would build it with a sound signal. If it's too much, beep, 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 and stronger and louder. So you want to stop it and sail more upright. That's ideal. Okay, so mast position to very back end of boat. It's not the flat part of the boat, it's the very end, so including the bottom lip here. .304.8, so call it 350. We always used the mast as far back as possible in the boat, but you have the foredeck here, and some boats, the gate is more forward, like that curve. Is that curve? Yeah. There it's tricky. There maybe it has to be a little bit more forward, and when we rake the mast really strong, and when it's windy, we have on here some holes. We actually sometimes move the mast 1 hole forward, which is 12 millimeter, to be able to rake more. But we check that on the boat. So that means it's measured from the heel of the mast, so you go along the top side of the centerboard case to the back of the mast, but not when the mast is like this. Put it in the boat as vertical as you can get. So that's the first basic measurement we check. 2, transom. Back end is here. So this is something like 17, 18 millimeter. That's a classroom, back end of bolt, okay? That normally, if you have the rudder fitting here, it's the middle of the pin. So you can measure from there. But then we have the center board. And not all the same. Some have narrow ones, some have wider ones. So we lift this up, put it on something. Ah, it doesn't matter, okay. So the front on our boat is here. So you measure down, you measure from the back end of the boat, from here to here, it's 2615. So if you have the, and then if you have a board which has a width of 290 millimeter, the center of center of flow of activity, of lift, is about 1/3 from the front. So 1/3 back is, hang on, that's 200 and what's that? 200. Well, about 200. 203. So if somebody has a wider board, you have to compare the center, not the front. If it's a board which is 200 or 300 millimeter wide, we compare the front. So the relation between the board position and the mast position, that's important, because later on we also can get a relation between shroud point and spreader deflection, because this triangle has to work with a triangle, the spreader triangle, between shroud to shroud and mast position. If the mast is far forward and the shroud far back, and that difference is big, also your spreaders cannot be straight, then also the spreaders have to be further back. Otherwise the whole middle mast bend does not work. But we do some dimensions and write it down. So the distance between that is 5, 3, hang on, how much is that? 435, right?
Yeah.
Then we come to a point, we also do this, the triangle, shroud, base, the mast. This is the same as that, but that's by error. Yeah? So it's 2615 to 350 is also 435 millimeter. That works in relation for our setup with our mainsail, with that mainsail love curve, which is BM sails. We check that later on your mast. So this is the mast, back side of the mast, to spreader, approximately 155, and side of mast to end of shroud 420 or 415, half a hole in if windy. That's the dimension we use. Angle, length. So when we know the whole day is windy, we turn the boat over and make the spreaders a little bit shorter so the mast can work more in the middle. But normally it's 420 to 155. And this triangle has to work with this triangle. So, but first check all the mast positions on your boat, and then turn it on the side, and check, get the board out, and then we can also, while it's on the side, can check the hull bottom and check this. Slot gaskets and everything we see from the bottom. Then we know a lot already. And then we continue with each boat. So that's the basic job we do now. Check where the mast is, and then turn the board on the side and get the board out. I check the board, I check the slot gaskets, and then you will see the first disasters. Okay?
It will be hard to
Tilt the boat.
tilt.
No, we can do it. That's easy. Any questions? Okay, so there's a board without mast. Start with that one. So because we can put it upside down and hold it and get the board out and check that one first. Okay? Good. We need, yeah?
So these numbers that are right here, are they the same as you have on the documentation on the
Yes.
website?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to tape measure, and we need a ruler.